Today, we're stepping into the vibrant and often controversial world of alternative medicine. But here's the twist. We're not just talking about the here and now. We're taking a journey back in time to explore the deep roots and surprising twists of this age-old phenomenon. So, grab your favorite cup of herbal tea, sit back, and let's embark on this enlightening adventure together. Picture this. It's the 1970s, and suddenly, alternative medicine is everywhere. Meditation, acupuncture, herbal remedies. They're all gaining popularity at an astonishing rate. But here's a question that might surprise you. Is this surge in alternative medicine really all that new? As we delve into the pages of Roberta Bivins' book, Alternative Medicine, A History, we discover that the answer is a resounding no. Let's travel back to 1836, to the bustling streets of London. Imagine a businessman named R.B. strolling along the Strand when he spots an intriguing headline in The Lancet, a prominent medical journal of the time. The article describes a new and exotic technique called acupuncture, claiming it can cure a condition known as hydrocele without invasive procedures or painful recovery times. Intrigued, R.B. decides to try it out for himself. Now here's where it gets fascinating. R.B. isn't just a passive consumer of medical advice. He's an active participant in the medical discourse of his time. He reads the article, procures the necessary needles, and performs the procedure on himself. And guess what? It works. He writes to The Lancet, sharing his success story, and his letter is published for all to see. This story is a window into a world where medical knowledge wasn't confined to the elite. It was accessible, and patients like R.B. felt empowered to experiment and share their experiences. This was a time when the boundaries between orthodox and alternative medicine were far more fluid than they are today. But why does this matter to us now? Well, it challenges the notion that the global exchange of medical knowledge is a modern phenomenon. It's not. The cross-cultural transmission of medical practices has been happening for centuries, with ideas and techniques traveling across continents and cultures, influencing and shaping each other in the process. Now, let's talk about the broader context. Throughout history, there have been periods of intense competition between different medical systems. In the 18th and 19th centuries, for example, the medical landscape in Europe was a vibrant marketplace of ideas and practices. Patients had a plethora of options, from traditional humoral medicine to the latest innovations in surgery and pharmacology. But it wasn't just about competition. There was also a deep-seated skepticism towards the claims of orthodox medicine. People like R.B. were not rejecting science outright. They were simply looking for alternatives that seemed more promising or less invasive. This skepticism is a recurring theme in the history of medicine, and it continues to influence our attitudes towards healthcare today. As we move forward in time, we see the rise of new medical systems that challenge the status quo. Take homeopathy, for instance. Developed in the late 18th century by Samuel Hahnemann, homeopathy is based on the principle of like cures like. It gained popularity in the 19th century, particularly in the United States, where it offered a gentler alternative to the harsh therapies of the time, such as bloodletting and toxic substances like mercury. Homeopathy's emphasis on patient testimony and individualized treatments resonated with a public increasingly wary of the impersonal and often brutal practices of orthodox medicine. It also tapped into the growing belief in the healing power of nature, a concept that still influences alternative medicine today. But homeopathy wasn't the only system gaining traction. Mesmerism, or animal magnetism, emerged as another alternative, promising to harness invisible forces to cure disease. Despite being discredited by the scientific establishment, mesmerism continued to captivate the public and even influence the development of modern hypnosis. Now, let's fast forward to the 19th century, a time when the world was becoming more interconnected than ever before. European powers were expanding their empires, and with them, their medical systems. But this wasn't a one-way street. The exchange of medical knowledge was a two-way process, with European doctors often learning from and adapting the practices of the cultures they encountered. Take the case of moxibustion, a traditional Chinese therapy involving the burning of herbs on the skin. It was introduced to Europe by figures like Hermann Bischoff and Sir William Temple, who were impressed by its effectiveness in treating gout. Their accounts sparked curiosity and debate among European physicians and laypeople alike, leading to experiments and adaptations of the technique. But not all cross-cultural exchanges were met with enthusiasm. Acupuncture, for example, faced skepticism and resistance in Europe, despite the efforts of Wilhelm Tenrein and Engelbert Kempfer to introduce the practice. It struggled to gain acceptance. The lack of a clear theoretical framework and the unfamiliarity of the tools and techniques made it difficult for European doctors to embrace acupuncture. However, as the 19th century progressed, the tide began to turn. The rise of new models of the body, influenced by advances in anatomy and physiology, led to renewed interest in acupuncture. Practitioners like Louis Berlioz and James Morse Churchill began to experiment with the technique, publishing their findings and advocating for its use. But here's where things get interesting. As acupuncture gained popularity, it was often stripped of its cultural and theoretical context. European practitioners focused on the empirical effects of the needles, often ignoring or dismissing the traditional Chinese explanations of qi and meridians. This process of cultural appropriation and reinterpretation is a common theme in the history of cross-cultural medicine. As we move into the 20th century, the landscape of medicine continues to evolve. The rise of scientific medicine, with its emphasis on laboratory research and evidence-based practice, further marginalized alternative systems. But even as biomedicine became dominant, the demand for alternative therapies persisted. Today, we find ourselves in a world where alternative and cross-cultural medicines are more accessible than ever before. The internet and globalization have made it easier for people to explore and experiment with different medical systems. Tiger balm, for example, has become a global phenomenon, transcending cultural boundaries and finding a place in medicine cabinets around the world. But what does this mean for the future of medicine? As we grapple with the challenges of chronic diseases, antibiotic resistance, and the rising costs of healthcare, the appeal of alternative and cross-cultural medicines is likely to grow. The question is, how will these systems adapt and evolve in response to the demands of a changing world? In conclusion, the history of alternative medicine is a complex tapestry of cultural exchange, scientific inquiry, and human curiosity. It's a story that challenges us to rethink our assumptions about what constitutes legitimate medicine and invites us to explore the rich diversity of healing practices that exist across the globe. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the fascinating history of alternative medicine. I hope it has sparked your curiosity and given you a new perspective on the ever-evolving world of healthcare. Until next time, stay curious and keep learning. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like to hear more about, feel free to reach out. I'd love to hear from you.
This has been a BrightLearn video from BrightLearn.ai on the book Alternative Medicine Biohistory by Roberta Bivins. Visit BrightLearn.ai for more fascinating videos like this one, and visit naturalnews.com for full editorial coverage and breaking news on critical stories that keep you informed and aware of what's really going on.